Good morning. This is pre-algebra for Friday, May 1st. Guys, we only have a couple of weeks of school left. How exciting is that? Today we're going to talk about writing algebraic phrases. You know, there's people ask all the time, what's the purpose of algebra? I don't ever use this. Well, actually, you do use this in real life, all right? But you're right. You're not going to sit down. There's not a job out there that says, hey, here's an equation, solve it, we're going to pay you money. You're right. But they are going to give you problems in life, those of you that maybe become engineers. You're going to have to figure out how much weight a pillar in a skyscraper can hold. How far apart do your support beams need to be? Maybe there's someone out there in our class that wants to be an architect, not building skyscrapers. Maybe you want to build bridges, and maybe you're going to be someone that's going to look for a new way. I am not real sure about suspension bridges. I'm really thinking, I've crossed a few of those, and I'm always thinking, boy, I hope the guy that built this really knows his math, because I'm not a big fan of heights, but I'm not terrified of them. I'm just not a real huge fan. Don't hang me off a cliff or anything. And so I just need us to understand, you know, somebody out there is going to pastor. And you know, when you're a pastor, you've got a lot of things going on. And so one of the things that you have to make sure you've got ready is your baptistry, right? So you're gonna need to fill it with water. Well, how much water does your baptistry hold? You're gonna need to know how to calculate the volume of that. By the way, if you know the volume of your baptistry and you know how fast your water is going into the baptistry, you'll know how long you can turn the water hose on and let it run, or the spigot on and just let it run and go do something else without flooding your auditorium. So algebra does have a purpose in life. Those are just some off the top of my head. So those are just some scenarios that we have to be able to understand. I want to back up before we get to today's lesson, and I want to review something. I talked to Brother Gonzalez, and he said that YouTube has started something new with all of the schools and people posting that if our videos are for children or minors, which these are for school, it automatically turns our comments off. So that means if you want to be in the drawing, you'll have to text me your answer, okay, or whatever. So today, let's say that today's key for the drawing is at the end of the video, somewhere in the middle. I'll just tell you now. I was gonna say I'll tell you in the middle, but right now, when you finish the video, you need to text me your favorite kind of candy. What is your favorite candy? If you could sit down and just gorge on some candy. I like candy, but I'm not a huge candy person. I'd much rather have cookies. I don't know why. You know, I don't like cake. Isn't that funny? All right, now let's look at our problem. So text that to me so your name can go in the drawing. Remember, each time you turn your homework in before 4 o'clock. If you text me when I ask you to, various other times, I'll give you opportunities to put your names in for drawings, okay? Let's look at this. We have 2 squared plus 2 cubed, bracket, 3 parentheses, the square root of 49 minus the square root of 36, parentheses, the square root of 16 plus the square root of 2 minus the square root of 9, our bracket, and then minus 81. And that's kind of running into our problem. Where do we start? Let's get rid of those powers and let's get rid of powers and exponents in parentheses. So we have 2 squared, which is 4. We have 2 cubed. What is that? That means 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. Okay? Got to keep our bracket. I can't do anything to this 3. Okay? Because remember, I'm only getting rid of squares and square roots and powers, exponents, those kinds of things. So now I've got my parentheses. The square root of 49 is 7, minus the square root of 36, which is 6. Okay, then we got 2 more parentheses. Then we have the square root of 16 is 4, plus the square root of 4, which is 2, minus the square root of 9, which is 3. Then we got our bracket, and minus 81. What do we do now, guys? We have to stay inside these brackets, right? And take the innermost parentheses. Do the innermost parentheses. So here, we're just going to bring our 4, our 8, our bracket, our 3. We're just going to bring all of that down. Now we've got some parentheses. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then we have 4 plus 2 is 6. We have minus 3, a bracket, and an 81. So what are we going to do now? We're still going to stay inside our brackets. We have to get rid of all these parentheses. We have to get rid of all these brackets. So we're going to bring our 4 and our 8 down. Now we're going to put our bracket. We're going to say 3 times 1 times 6. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 minus 3 is 15 minus 81. Okay, what do we do now? We have 4 plus 8 times 15 minus 81. What do I do? Orders of operation, guys. You multiply and divide from left to right, then go back and add and subtract. Okay, so we're going to start right here. We're going to bring our 4 down. Then we're going to say 8 times 15. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 4 we carried is 12. So we have 120 minus 81. Now, I have both addition and subtraction on the same line, and that's all I have left. So what do I do? Work left to right. So I'm going to say 4 plus 120 is 124 minus 81. Well, 4 minus 1 is 3. And 12 minus 8 is 4. So our answer is 43. Okay? That's just a little review for today. Let me erase this out of our way. We're going to work on today. I want you to think back to when you were in probably first grade. When I taught first and second grade, I would teach them certain words. I taught them that the parts of an addition problem, we would say add and sum. And then we said, oh, for a subtraction problem, it's the subtrahend, the minuend, and the difference. And then for multiplication, factor, product. So you learned all these terms. We also learned in first and second grade when your teacher said, I want you to increase, if you had a basket of Easter eggs and you had 2 Easter eggs, and you're going to increase the number of Easter eggs by 4, how many eggs do you have? She wanted you to know that the word increase means to what? To add, okay? I just want to look at a few of these. We're going to call them our clue words, for lack of a better term for them. The word sum means to add. The word product means to multiply. Greater than means to add. Less than means to subtract. Increased means to add. Decreased means to subtract. The word opposite means you're going to put a negative sign with it. If I said something is twice as much, what would that mean? If it's twice as much, I'm not adding 2 to it. Instead, I am multiplying it. So when I say something is twice as much or 3 times as much, the word times means to multiply. These are just a few of the words. Yesterday, I asked you to make a list of words and to put out beside them what process they represented. Today, if there were any on this list that you do not have on your list, you probably want to add them unless you're like, oh, I just didn't think of that one, but I know it. Okay? Today, we're going to read a sentence, a mathematical sentence, and it's in words. And we're going to change it to numbers and letters. Just like when the beginning of the year we worked on place value, and I would give you I would say a number like 6,257,321,017. The word and was a clue word to tell you to put your decimal point. The rest of that was a fraction or a decimal. Now, we're going to look at these sentences for our clue words, and that's going to help us. The sum of a number and 4. What's the first clue word you saw? Hopefully it was the word sum. The word sum tells us to add. I know in this problem, I'm going to add. What am I going to add? Well, when you add, you have to have two add-ins at least, right? So what am I adding? I'm adding a number, which I don't know what a number is. I don't know what that number is, so I'm going to let it be represented by the letter N. N. So it's the sum of N and -4. Okay, so I have N plus -4. Now, in algebra, we assume that we're going to use algebraic addition. So do I need to write both of those signs? No, I can write N minus 4 because I'm using algebraic addition and this is a -4. Let's look at the next one. A number reduced by 4. What's the clue word? What's the clue word? The word is reduced. Okay? Reduced means to subtract. Okay? So a number, which we're going to use the letter N. So N, reduced or subtract, reduced by what? Reduce it by 4. So our answer is N minus 4. Look at the next one. The sum, oh, there's my keyword. The sum of the opposite, oh, that's another keyword, of a number and -3. Okay? So I'm going to know, I know that I'm adding two numbers. What I'm adding is the opposite of this number. So if I took the word opposite out and I said the sum of a number, what would a number be? The letter N. But I'm not going to use the letter N. I'm going to use the opposite of N. So I'm going to write -N. It's a sum, so I'm going to be adding them. Okay? Excuse me. And I'm going to add -3. Now again, because of algebraic addition, I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm going to write -N minus 3. Why? Because that's algebraic addition. Okay, let's look at the next one. The product, that's a key word. The product of the opposite, another key word, of a number and 6. Okay, so the product this time means I'm going to be multiplying. What am I multiplying? Well, the opposite of a number, so I'm going to multiply -N times what? Times 6. Now, literally, if I were to write that, I would write -N times 6. Okay? Now, we know in algebra, you put the number before. Would it matter? Okay? So we have a -6. If we're going to multitude the other one, we're going to say 6 times the opposite of N. Okay, we need that opposite sign to stay with the N. So we have to protect it, in other words, put it with the letter by putting it inside parentheses. Okay? I hope that you have gone over your words. If you haven't, let me encourage you to do that. Let's look at the last one in our book, letter F, on practice. It says the product of -4 and a number increased by 6. Okay, keywords, product, tells me I'm multiplying. What am I going to multiply? I'm going to multiply -4 and a number increased by 6. So I'm going to multiply -4 times what? Some number that is increased by 6. So -4 parentheses N plus 6 parentheses. All right, guys, pay close attention when you're doing your homework. Do your homework before you take the quiz. It's going to help you because your quiz is over this kind of material, okay? Have a great day.